This week's feature is brought to you by Workforce Resources Staffing Company in West Hazelton. With temporary to permanent jobs, seasonal and temporary placement, you must apply in person. And now here's our weekly feature.
Leonardo da Vinci was an artist with a mind for science. With bold brushstrokes, he created some of the most famous works of art in history, and some of his ideas would help change the course of history. Here at the cafe at the DaVinci Science Center in Allentown, you can view an interpretation of his Mona Lisa and look at his idea for a flying machine, the ornithopter.
That's why we originally chose the name, because, inserting the art kind of makes science more fun. Those interconnections are where all the cool things happen. Like that's where your big inventions come. That's where kids have the most fun with science.
Right now you're going to watch a story about kids making paper rockets and walking through a school bus that looks like a space shuttle. Years from now you'll have long forgotten about this story, but at that point some of the kids in it may be helping humanity reach heights that would even impress the great Renaissance man himself. Get ready for liftoff. Elon Musk, the founder of the private rocket company SpaceX, once said, "Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating." Here's some video of his company's rockets exploding during landing attempts. Now SpaceX routinely lands their Falcon 9 rocket, sometimes two at once. These kids at the DaVinci Science Center are having fun and fully embracing failure. Over at the Marble Maze, Matthew is hard at work trying to solve this puzzle.
At the very beginning, it wasn't working because I wasn't really careful with how I was making the slopes. If it's going too fast, then it'll bounce around, or if it's like at this section, it was like bouncing side to side and like losing its like momentum forward.
As you can see, Matthew figured out the maze, and these kids have figured out that failure is an important part of science and life.
What was more successful, the first rocket you made here or this one?
This one, because this one shoots much farther, because I almost hit Saturn once. I kind of learned from building this because if I didn't learn, like I wouldn't cover the top of the rocket, and then it would just go straight through. So I kind of learned from this.
Do you think actual rocket scientists kind of do the same thing and be like, okay, that didn't work, maybe we should try something else?
Yeah.
Adults, no longer scared of the monster under the bed, seem to be paralyzed by the thought of failure. At least some of them.
Kids, I think they're not guarded by what we've already learned as adults, so their minds are always much more open to, oh, I can just do this. Well, we're like, oh no, you can't try it. But they end up proving you wrong half the time, so.
In celebration of the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing, the DaVinci Center has dedicated a lot of its space to outer space to help inspire a new generation of explorers.
Definitely very important just for them to, keep in mind where we've been, because we're looking at continuing our space travel in the future too, so they need to be able to understand that, have a good foundation, even realizing it took a little over 4 days to get to the moon, and what it's like for somebody to actually live in space.
Do you think they're getting it? You worked with a bunch of kids today. Do you see it in their eyes though sometimes, even at the basic level?
Yeah, they definitely get it, yeah. Some of them leave wanting to be astronauts. We had one little girl come in who wants to be a geologist and an astronaut, and yes, you can do that, so.
First up at this space extravaganza, you can create lunar landers and stomp rockets.
Especially with physics, that's one area that you can really demonstrate at a elementary level, but physics is a tremendously complex subject. The physics of getting the moon, people have written books about, but if you make a little stomp rocket and you kind of see how the angle and the trajectory goes to different lengths, you're figuring out physics of how this could break orbit, or how this could fly to the moon, that kind of thing.
Tell me about your rocket today. How'd you make your rocket? Tell me about the design a bit if you can.
So I cut off part of the tube to make it smaller, and then I put these on top. I wanted to do that so it would glide more, and it does. It glides a lot.
Nice. Why'd you make it a little smaller?
Because I wanted the air to carry it, and see if it could like hit a planet or so by the AOTO unit or something.
How far did you get it to go? What planet?
I didn't hit a planet, but I got like past Jupiter sometimes.
Here's the Be the Astronaut exhibit, where you can control a spacecraft attempting to refuel or cruise around the surface of the moon or Mars. At the impact pool, you can simulate asteroid strikes on the surface of a planet or a moon. This is where I met J. Don Bandelon, and he showed off his mad science skills.
I am into science. I remember everything from like 8th grade. Yeah, so.
Really? What's one science fact off the top of your head right now you're thinking about as I'm asking you this question? From like 8th grade, you remember anything?
Most meteors disintegrate in the mesosphere.
That's very impressive.
Boom! Before he was dropping science bombs on me, he was helping out his little sister.
I was trying to explain that the harder the impact of the object into the sand is, the larger the crater will get.
Outside of the DaVinci Center, there's the Space Shuttle Blake, and yes, it's as cool as you think it's going to be on the inside.
Shuttle Blake was built as a teaching tool by the Parkland School District to get kids interested in space travel and being astronauts. So we get the chance now for people to kind of walk through and see what it was like for Parkland back when they built it, and kind of imagine what it would be like to be up in space.
That's a 1-hour drive for one man and countless hours of fun for everyone in our viewing area. The exhibit celebrating the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing here at the DaVinci Center will be on display until September 2nd. So yeah, warp speed to Allentown. You know what, drive the speed limit. They have cool stuff going on all year long, so be sure to check them out online. But for right now, in Allentown on planet Earth, for SSPTV News, I'm Ken Kara.